Hello everybody, it's your boy N here. I'm coming at you guys with another YouTube video. So in today's video it is gonna be the one and the only, the GLEY Massacre build. So without further ado guys, let's get right on into today's video. Before we get on into it though, real quick, my creator code is gonna be on screen right now, so please do use that, top link in the description. Let's get right on into this entire build, how to build it, how to rock it, how to kick it, and absolutely everything you need to know for this massacre. So let's go on over the modules that you are going to want to run on your GLEY. So this is the config that you are going to want to run. Let's break it down for you guys real quick so you understand why we are using every single module that is on this config. Starting off with massive sanguification. This is here so that you are able to essentially bypass the waiting, the killing a few enemies, and charging your life bar in order to use your fourth ability. Now with massive sangon, you are able to just use your ability immediately, so it just skips over that first bit and allows you to basically get kicking immediately. Next up we have MP conversion. Now MP does not work on GLEY. GLEY instead uses her health for a function, so you use her health to activate abilities, and MP means literally nothing to her. Now this MP conversion module is on for that skill cooldown. We also have nimble fingers for skill cooldown, and this function is going to be very important. I will explain why we need so much cooldown shortly, but let's just skip on over that for now. Next up we have stim accelerant and increase HP, just for maxing out your HP on GLEY. Again, max MP doesn't mean a thing to GLEY. Next up we have walk a tightrope as an ultimate mod. This is here so that once we do have less than half our health, we will get a plus 30% firearm attack and skill power modifier. Next up we have increased defense. This is just going to make GLEY a little bit more tanky, which is an important part of her survivability, especially going into higher level bosses. Next up we have the duo maximize duration and skill extension. Again, this is here to make sure that we are able to use our our third ability as long as we can. Next up we have two focus mods, being focus on dimension and focus on non-attribute. So these are here to boost the abilities. As you can see, GLEY's Massacre is a non-attribute and a dimension ability, and GLEY's third ability is also a non-dimension ability. Massive Sang is also a non-dimensional ability and a dimension ability, so this is also important. And then GLEY's first ability is also non-attribute. For the maneuvering mod, I've gone with long distance maneuvering. This is here just because I prefer the long distance maneuvering. You can use any, it is completely optional. However, I prefer long distance because it helps you get around the arena, and this in Colossus fights can mean the difference between life or death. So next up, let's talk about why you need so much cooldown on this GLEY, and this essentially is the heart and soul of this build here. So starting off, the gameplay loop with GLEY is using her first ability, her second ability, her fourth ability, and then her third ability. Now her first ability is just going to launch her into a frenzied state, you know, that's just GLEY being GLEY. The second ability, Massive Sang, is going to allow you to basically skip past charging and just use your fourth ability immediately. Once you've casted your Massacre ability, it's all about maintaining that with the third ability with the infinite ammo. Now, this is where you need to pay attention to the stats. As you can see here on the basic info, the cooldown for my ability is 7.6 seconds. Then if we go down a little bit more to the maximize lethality, you can see the duration of my ability being 8.8 seconds. Now the absolute pinnacle on key of this ability is that you need to have your cooldown be lower than the duration. So for example, if your ability's duration is 10 seconds, then you need to make sure that your cooldown is underneath 10 seconds, so you are able to recast it again. In this instance, my cooldown is 7.6 seconds, which is faster than the 8.8 seconds from maximize lethality, meaning I have 0.8 seconds to recast my ability, and I will still be good, I will still be kicking, and I will still have infinite ammo. Now, this can go up and down depending on the reactor, and this is also something I will talk about a little bit later inside of the video. But the key point here being that you do need cooldown on your reactor just so that you are able to get yourself this level of cooldown to basically make this infinite. I will talk about the reactor a little bit later, and then I will come back to this. So let's move on to the next part of this video, which is going to be the weapon. So now let's talk about the right hand man of the massacre, the monster in itself, the Python. Starting off with the stats that I have on my Python. As you can see, I have firearm critical hit damage, firearm attack, weak point damage, and damage to the Colossus. Now, 3 of these stats are good. The firearm attack is amazing. The weak point damage, if it was in gold, would also be amazing. The damage to the Colossus is the essential stat here. The firearm critical hit damage is completely useless. If you look at the Python stats, so if I just quickly do this and pull up the weapons info, you can see that this weapon has a 5% critical hit rate, so there is absolutely 0 point for modifying this weapon to hit crits. It is just not worth it. Now, this is gonna all come together and show, because this weapon is a great weapon. Is it a good for critting like I've just said? Absolutely not. So for this, the final stat, what you are going to want is some sort of element. The ideal stats, let me just get that clear for you one more time, is damage to the Colossus, weak point damage, firearm attack, and then whichever element you will prefer. Now, the way I have built my Python is very different to what you will see to other people on the internet. But before I show you my build for my Python, I just want to clear up a major misconception about GLEY's MASSACRE build. Now, I have seen countless videos on YouTube saying that GLEY's MASSACRE takes into account the unique ability, which is the prey for the Python. This is wrong. Let me say this for you one more time. This is wrong. The way we can test this simply is by heading on over to the lab. So as you can see, I have the GLEY reverse fate over here. Now if I spawn in some enemies real quick, let me just quickly do this and prove my point to you guys. So I'll just spawn in some enemies real quick. Now with the GLEY's reverse fate, the unique ability is the shaping destiny. So this is what it does. When I shoot enemies, it will do this bombardment, fire, rain sort of attack, which is hella cool. So the way that I know that the unique ability does not work is if I was to set up the massive sang and set up the massacre whilst holding the holding the GLEY, you can see that this does not activate the unique ability at all, which is a very simple thing to say, but this concludes that the unique abilities do not work with GLEY's massacre at all. Please, any YouTuber, give this a test. Any person, give this a test. I promise you it does not work. If you have a look at the Python over here, when you use it on its own, there is debuffs applied above the enemy's heads. So if we shoot them again, you can see that there's prey, there's frostbite applying above the enemy. That is a debuff that comes from the Python's unique ability. Now, however, if we change the table and we activate the massacre, you can see once we start shooting, there is no such debuffs on top of the enemy's heads. This means that, put simply, the massacre does not work with the Python's unique ability. I've proven it now with the GLEY and with the Python. This is something that is just not worthwhile, and something that I think a lot of YouTubers have not realized. Again, you can see when we use the regular Python, the debuffs come back. Now when we go back into the massacre, there you go, nothing. It's finished. These YouTubers have been getting it wrong all the time. This is why testing needs to be done, and why I love GLEY, because she's such a complex character. Okay, now let's go on into how I have built the Python. So over here, this is what the Python is good for. If we again have a look at the stats, you can see that this has a very high weak point damage critical multiplier. So you are going to want to mod for weak point. So for that, weak point sight is going to be the first mod you want to throw on here. Have aiming is also going to be on here. Now I've got fixed shot on here, which is a level 0, but it is still catalyzed. Let me explain why that is. So first of all, before I explain that, let's go on over the few other modules I have on here. Mental focus for firearm attack, because the Python has an insanely high fire rate. As you can see, it has 923 rounds per minute, which is a very good fire rate. Pushing this even further with mental focus, a rifling reinforcement, action and reaction, and fire rate up is going to be absolutely devastating for whichever opponent faces this Python. Now you can see I've got 3 module slots slots that are completely empty. We are only going to be using 2 of them. So the way that I have built this Python is that its element is completely interchangeable. So if I want to have electricity and fight myself the obstructor, I can put the 2 electricity modules on here, hit save, back out, and then activate my ability with GLEY. And as you can see, once it activates, you can see that my Massacre now has electrical damage. Of course, I put an electrical module on there. However, if I was to change this from electrical to, let's say, fire, and stick fire priority on and fire rate enhancement on, then also rock the ability again. So let's use our 4th ability, and then let's use our 3rd ability. You can see now I have fire damage on my Python. Now this is the way that I have built it to allow you to have interchangeable elements, which means in short you can use this Python build and this GLEY Massacre build on every single Colossi in the game. So this is what I believe to be the absolute pin core best way to build GLEY, because this is universal. It will work on literally every single Colossus in the game. So now let's talk about the external components and the reactor that you are going to want to run on GLEY. So for this bossing specifically, the reactor you are going to want is something like the following. Your optimized condition is of course going to be the Python. For your skill power boost ratio, it is going to be non-dimensional, non-attribute and dimensional skill power boosts. Now that is of course because GLEY's 2 abilities, her 3rd and her 4th ability, are non-dimensional. Oh my god, I'm tweaking. Dimensional and non-attribute for both of them, and they both share this stat. Now for the 2 stats at the bottom, this is where it gets very, very interesting. So you are going to want to have skill cooldown, but the other stat you are going to want to have is damage to the Colossus. This is absolute perfection if you are able to get both of them inside of a gold stat. Now I've got dimension on my reactor and it is still more than capable of absolutely dishing the damage out that I need. But let me talk about the skill cooldown on the reactor a little bit more real quick. So as you can see, I have a purple level skill cooldown. And with a purple level skill cooldown, I'm able to get my cooldown to 7.6 for my 3rd ability. Even if you are able to get skill cooldown in a blue stat on a reactor, this in theory should be good enough to run on this Massacre build. So last but not least, let's talk about the components that you are going to want to run for this config. Now there's 2 different sets of components that people are hotly debating between, and that being the Slayer set as the one that I am running over here, or the second one being, if I can find it, the Annihilation set. So with the Slayer set, you are able to get yourself more skill power, which will deal more damage with your abilities. However, the skill cost is plus 15. So if this is something that you've tested and this may make your build a little bit iffy and not the best to work with, then I do recommend the Annihilation set. Now like I did say, the Slayer set is better for damaging, and the Annihilation set also does need lower HP for you to run it, so there is a little bit of a trade-off. If you are going to use the Annihilation set, I would recommend rocking with the Battle of Stamina instead of the Stim Accelerant, which I'm keeping on my own build, just because, you know, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Now for the stats on each one of these parts, let's go on over them real quick. Now the stat parts are the exact same between the Slayer set and the Annihilation set, so the stats that I'm going to list on screen right now will work for both of these sets. Starting off with the auxiliary power, for the power you are going to want to get yourself max HP and fire resistance. This is perfect for GLEY. So with the external components for GLEY, we are basically just going to be making her more into a tank and able to survive things a little bit better. Next up, for the Slayer sensor, you are going to want to get yourself chill resistance and then preferably HP recovery. Now I've got shield recovery out of combat, which is kind of useless because GLEY's shield isn't all of that, but HP recovery is going to be the stat you want, as well as chill resistance. Next up, for the third part, you are going to want to get yourself defense and electric resistance. Now, we're just resisting everything as much as we can to basically give ourselves the best shot at survival up against all of the colossi and all the different elements inside of this game. Now, as you can see, I've only got defense on here, so you know, still a work in progress. I need to get that electric resistance on with defense in one memories part, and we should be all good to go. Last but not least, for the processor, you're just going to want toxic resistance on here, and then the second stat is optional. In this instance, I've got a shield recovery modifier with it, but that is still more than good enough to absolutely kick it with this GLEY. Now, like I said, the same parts apply for the Annihilation set, so you know, if you want to do it with that one, absolutely feel free. Now let's go into some gameplay of me rocking GLEY, and I will show you how all of this works. So for GLEY, once you spawn in, hold your Python. Activate your first ability, activate your second ability, and then activate your fourth ability. From here, you are essentially ready. When you want to start shooting, make sure to use your third ability first. Your third ability is going to be the key here, because you do not want to run out of any massacre ammo, and using your third ability gives you infinite ammo. So let's go. We start using our third ability here, and then it's essentially just keep an eye on the timer. So with the timer on the third ability, that is what you want to be keeping an eye out for. With this, you are just going to hold onto, or you can just keep pressing your third ability button, and you want to be aiming at all the weak points on the colossi. So with these, I'm aiming at his core, and I'm also aiming at his shoulder, and the Devourer is down in how many seconds? I think that was like a 10, 12, 13 second run or something. I am using a fire python, so in this instance, this is the python I'm using on screen, and this is going to be optimal for gluttony. Like we said, gluttony has a fire weakness, so the fact that we are able to change our element over to fire is good, and that is why I honestly love the way that I built this python. Now, I want to quickly talk about the trade-off between the little bit of weak point damage buff and the elemental buff. Now, of course, there is damage we are missing out on for the weak points. However, I personally feel like the elemental damage buff that you get in return is so significant that it almost basically justifies choosing the element over choosing the weak point damage. Now, as you can see, gluttony is getting melted, whether it be a little bit slow, whether it be a little bit fast. There's 4 people in this lobby, so remember, gluttony does have a ton of health. But that being said, once gluttony is down, targeting the weak points is the best thing to do, whether it be the face, whether it be the arm. As you can see there, this is just doing insane levels of damage to gluttony. Now, I'm gonna spoil this tiny bit because this ending is honestly insanity. So you can see we are just going at it. I'm running out of health, so I do not have very much health to keep using my last ability with GLEY. Oh, sorry, my third ability for the infinite ammo. So as you can see, we're still going at it. Gluttony is using its wipeout attack right now. So what do? I go dog in, I destroy its knee, preventing it from wiping out. It is trying to wipe out again. I panic a bit. I shoot it with the python. I switch to the enduring legacy, and me and my teammates, we actually killed gluttony, and we were absolutely raving at this point because holy, we were so close to a wipeout failure then, and gluttony was just there like, hey yo. So as you can see, this GLEY can take on the best of the best with no problems. Using this config and, you know, just having fun with it is honestly the best way to play GLEY. So that's basically been this video on my GLEY config, and I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, please do smash that like button, and if you are new here, please do consider subscribing. As you can see, under 3-minute gluttony run, far from optimal, and we did get almost a 1-minute run, but you know, let's save that for another video where I show all the boss's mechanics off. So I hope you've enjoyed. Smash that like button. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great one, people. Peace.